Sophie Cunningham has been hot to trot. Sophie Cunningham has been on fire. A win is a win, and the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark go up against the Las Vegas Aces and last year's MVP, A'ja Wilson, and walk away with a W, 80-70.
What happens when the Indiana Fever lose their biggest star, yet still dominate A'ja Wilson's Las Vegas Aces? What unfolds will completely shift how you see this team.
Obviously, there's no timeline for Caitlin, but what has she been able to do this last week? Is it mostly just rehab recovery, or has she been able to do any kinds of practice?
Yeah, no, I mean, we haven't really practiced since the couple days before All-Star break. So mostly rehab, shooting, and she's been with our athletic training team, and we've been preparing everybody else.
With Caitlin Clark sidelined by injury, still passionately arguing with refs from the bench, her teammates rose to the occasion. Kelsey Mitchell stepped up with a clutch 21-point performance. And Sophie Cunningham, she just became the league's hottest player. No exaggeration.
Caitlin presents a challenge in itself for any opponent, but when she doesn't play, how is your team different?
I think our ball moves differently. What we run is different. She has such gravity and her ability, not just to be at the top of the scouting report, but her ability to make everybody better with the ball in her hands. So some of the things that we run are different when she's on the floor than when she's not. We run some more off-ball stuff, a lot less on-ball action.
This wasn't just a win. It was a message that echoed across the WNBA. So, how did the Fever pull off such a commanding victory? And what exactly did Sophie do to catch fire like that?
Yeah, it's definitely a relief to know that there's nothing else going on and no more damage. Now it's just being patient with the process. You can't have 5-minute lapses against great teams. They make you pay, and they bury you in those moments. I think we've seen, throughout the course of the season, where we've been really good for long stretches, and where we've weathered the ups and downs of a game. And we've got to be able to do that from a neutral mindset. We can't get into the playing conservative.
Picture this: you've just dropped back-to-back games to the Liberty, and your franchise player is stuck on the bench in street clothes nursing a groin injury. That was the scene as the Indiana Fever returned to Gainbridge Fieldhouse on July 24th. The sting of those two losses lingered in the air, and one question echoed everywhere. Who are the Fever without Caitlin Clark?
Playing for Sophie Cunningham to start again tonight, or what's your...
Yes.
What is it about her, I guess, at the start of a game that you like having her in the lineup?
Another ball handler, another player who can create shots for her teammates, as well as stretch the floor. A really good defensive rebounder as well. We had at times really struggled from a defensive rebounding standpoint, so like that as well. And her energy.
The Fever's 12-12 record only scratched the surface. This wasn't just about playoff hopes anymore. Critics were already burying their season. Social media turned ruthless. Sports analysts called them pretenders, exposed the moment their superstar went down.
Well, first of all, I started off with our defense. Our defense to get our offense going, and that's how we maintain games like that. We don't rely on our offense a lot. We rely on our defense to get when our defense is going, our offense is going. So we limited the Vegas to one shot, and that's how we got open shots for the shooters inside the paint and everything.
The message was clear. Without Caitlin Clark, this team had nothing. And the pressure, it was suffocating. Every game had playoff implications now. And next up, a juggernaut. A'ja Wilson and the reigning back-to-back champion Las Vegas Aces rolling into Indianapolis with their own 12-11 record. But the swagger of a team that smelled blood in the water. Coach Stephanie White carried the weight of the moment heavier than anyone. She understood this game wasn't just another matchup. It was a defining test of her team's identity. Were they true contenders capable of battling with the league's best, or just another squad that crumbled without their star? With doubt seeping into the locker room, White knew she had to dig deep and deliver the message that would snap her players back into belief. The Aces came in confident, maybe a little too confident. You could see it in their body language during warm-ups. A'ja Wilson and her fellow Olympians had likely circled this game the moment Clark was ruled out. This was their shot to prove what critics had whispered for weeks, that the Fever were just a one-woman show hiding behind a flashy storyline. And for Wilson, this was personal. The growing spotlight on Clark over the past 2 seasons had stirred up envy, and now she had a chance to remind the league who the real MVP was. This wasn't just another game for Vegas, it was their statement moment, a chance to shout that rings matter more than buzz. But that's when the script flipped. Because sometimes the best thing that can happen to a team is being completely counted out. The Fever took every doubt, every insult, every hot take, and turned it into fire. What the world saw as their weakness, they turned into their fuel. And what came next? It shook the entire WNBA. The Fever were about to prove that real champions aren't born when things go right. They're built in the storm, when everything goes wrong. When a team's back is against the wall, sometimes the quietest voice becomes the loudest on the court. And Kelsey Mitchell was ready to rise. All season, she'd been under fire for her up-and-down performances. Critics claimed she vanished in clutch moments, and the stats seemed to support it, dropping 20 points one night, then struggling with a cold 3 for 15 performance the next. But on this night, with everything on the line, Mitchell wasn't just present. She was poised to silence every doubt. Early on against the Aces, it looked like the critics were right. Kelsey Mitchell couldn't buy a bucket. She missed her first few shots and clearly wasn't in sync. The frustration showed on her face with every clank off the rim. The crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse grew uneasy. They could feel the offense slipping without Clark's steady hand running the show. And Mitchell? She felt the weight of every miss. By the end of 3 quarters, she was shooting just 4 of 19. Those are the kinds of numbers that usually get you pulled in crunch time. But Coach Stephanie White saw something different, and she wasn't ready to give up on her guard just yet. During a timeout, Coach White pulled Kelsey Mitchell aside and delivered the words that changed everything. Let it fly. It's gonna go. Just 7 simple words, but they landed with power. That quiet vote of confidence hit Mitchell exactly where she needed it. White didn't stop there. She reminded her guard to stay balanced on her drives, to slow down just enough to make smarter reads at the rim. And then something clicked, not just in Mitchell, but in the entire team. Her teammates stepped up in ways that don't show up on the stat sheet. They started finding her in better spots, set stronger screens, gave her just enough room to breathe, to regroup, to rediscover the rhythm she'd been chasing all night. They believed in her, and she was finally ready to deliver. Then in the second half, everything changed. Something clicked. Mitchell suddenly found her groove, and the basket looked huge. She started knocking down shots from everywhere. Pull-ups, mid-range jumpers, all net. Her explosive first step turned into a nightmare for the Aces' defense. She attacked the rim fearlessly, finishing through contact and refusing to be denied. Every possession, she looked sharper, faster, and completely locked in. The fourth quarter turned into Kelsey Mitchell's personal stage, with the game hanging in the balance. She poured in 9 clutch points over those final 12 minutes, going an efficient 4 for 5 from the field when it mattered most. But she wasn't just scoring, she was orchestrating. Mitchell dished out 4 assists, tying for the team high, showing she could create for others just as effectively as she could take over herself. In the biggest moments, she became the engine powering the Fever on both ends of the court. Mitchell closed the night with 21 points, delivering a resounding answer to every critic who doubted her ability to lead when it counted. She showed the exact mental toughness she spoke about after the loss to the Liberty, only this time she backed it up on the court. Her performance didn't just fill the void left by Clark, it redefined what leadership looks like on this team. It proved the Fever aren't a one-woman show. They're a team with multiple threats, and on this night, Kelsey Mitchell stepped up as the leader they've always needed her to be. While all eyes were on who would replace Clark's scoring, Sophie Cunningham was quietly transforming into the league's most lethal shooter. Coming into the matchup against the Aces, she was riding a red-hot streak, scoring in double figures in 6 straight games. The numbers didn't lie. Cunningham was averaging 13.7 points and 4.7 rebounds per game, while drilling 3.0 threes a night. Her impact was no longer under the radar, it was undeniable. The question was never about whether Sophie Cunningham could shoot. Everyone knew she had the range. The real challenge was whether she could sustain this scorching pace against top-tier competition like Aja Wilson's championship-caliber Aces. The spotlight was brighter now. Opponents were starting to build defensive schemes around her shooting. And yet, the numbers were almost unreal. Over her last 6 games, Cunningham was hitting 58.1% from beyond the arc, making her the hottest shooter in the entire WNBA during July. And these weren't meaningless buckets and blowouts. She was draining clutch threes when the pressure was highest, delivering when her team needed her the most. Against the Aces, Sophie Cunningham rose to the occasion when the lights were brightest. She hit 3 of her 4 shots from beyond the arc, and her 15 points weren't just stats, they were momentum killers. Each bucket came at a crucial moment, stopping Las Vegas in their tracks. Every time the Aces started to rally, Cunningham responded with a perfectly timed three that silenced the crowd and shattered any hopes of a comeback. Her shooting wasn't just efficient, it was devastating. What sets Sophie Cunningham apart isn't just her elite shooting, it's everything else she brings to the floor. Rebounding, defense, leadership, she delivers in every category. Coach Stephanie White elevated her to the starting lineup to capitalize on that relentless energy and versatility. White praised her as a floor spacer, a defensive rebounder, and a facilitator, someone who can handle the ball and create her own shot when needed. Now, basketball analysts are seriously eyeing Cunningham as the frontrunner for 6th Player of the Year. And honestly, who's even close? One analyst even dubbed her an absolute assassin for her clutch shooting under pressure. Her consistent scoring and all-around impact off the bench have turned her into a legitimate, undeniable contender for the award. Sophie Cunningham's evolution from role player to offensive weapon has completely changed the dynamic for the Indiana Fever. What started as a complimentary role has turned into a breakout season, making her one of the most feared shooters in the league. Fans are calling for apologies from the doubters, because Sophie didn't just prove them wrong, she made them eat their words. Her clutch gene and steady scoring have become the perfect complement to a team with championship goals. And when Caitlin Clark returns, she won't be coming back to a team desperate for help. She'll be rejoining a squad with another proven game-changer by her side. But with 35 seconds left on the clock and the game still hanging in the balance, it wasn't Cunningham or Mitchell who had the ball. It was Ari McDonald. The Fever were clinging to a 5-point lead, barely breathing room against a team like the Aces, who had been clawing their way back all quarter. Las Vegas was one stop and one shot away from turning the tide. That's when McDonald stepped up to take the shot that would define the entire night. Ari McDonald caught the ball at the top of the arc with Aja Wilson's squad scrambling to make one final push, fighting not just for the game, but for playoff momentum. The weight of the moment was massive. Miss and the two-time champs had a window to steal it, make it, and slam the door shut for good. McDonald didn't flinch. With ice in her veins, she rose up without hesitation. The step-back three was bold, fearless, and full of purpose. She knew exactly what was at stake, and she embraced it. The shot arced high and dropped clean through the net, a perfect swish that felt destined from the moment it left her hands. It was the dagger, the exclamation point, the moment that crushed the Aces' comeback hopes and sealed the statement win for the Indiana Fever. Gainbridge Fieldhouse erupted. The crowd knew they had just witnessed a moment they'd be talking about for a long time. Ari McDonald's fearless three wasn't just a highlight, it was the turning point. She finished a perfect 3 for 3 from beyond the arc, racking up 9 points, 4 assists, and 2 steals in just 22 minutes of play. But that fourth quarter dagger, it was her only shot of the period. Talk about delivering when it matters most. While McDonald sealed it, Natasha Howard laid the foundation. She was a force all night, posting a dominant double-double with 18 points and 13 rebounds, plus 3 steals. Howard owned both ends of the floor and set the tone with her relentless energy. "Our defense gets our offense going. When defense is going, our offense is going," she said post-game, a mantra she embodied with every possession. McDonald's clutch shot was the perfect exclamation point on top of Howard's powerhouse performance, a defining finish to a team win that shook the league. Even Caitlin Clark couldn't stay seated. Dressed in street clothes and sidelined with a groin injury, her competitive fire still burned bright. She was fully locked in from the bench, cheering, shouting, living every possession with her team. And when McDonald's clutch three splashed through the net, Clark leapt to her feet, celebrating like she'd just hit the shot herself. Her joy was undeniable. This wasn't just about winning without her, it was about thriving. That dagger three didn't just seal the win, it secured the all-important season series tiebreaker over the defending champs. The Fever now hold a 2-1 edge over Las Vegas, a potentially crucial advantage when playoff seeding comes into play. And with a 13-12 record, they've climbed to 6th in the WNBA standings, firmly in the postseason picture. But more than the standings, this game was a message, a declaration. The Fever aren't just a team riding the buzz of a rookie phenom, they're building something real. With Mitchell's leadership, Cunningham's lethal shooting, Howard's two-way dominance, and a gritty defensive identity, this squad is forming the core of a true contender. When Caitlin Clark returns, she won't be coming back to carry the team. She'll be rejoining a unit that just proved they can beat anyone, anywhere, under pressure. The foundation is set, and the future in Indiana, It's starting to look like a championship blueprint.